It's not reciprocal. And you might think that all people are like that, but they're really not. It's that whether you know it or not, you're picking people who are like that, and you're participating in that dynamic with them without even knowing it, probably because you have a blind spot. So my letter today is from a woman I'll call Jean, and she writes, Dear Anna, I have recently subscribed to your channel and have been watching one of your videos where you describe abandonment melange. I'm definitely experiencing this feeling right now after something which happened to me yesterday. Abandonment melange is a phenomenon named by Pete Walker that people who were abandoned as kids sometimes get, that feels like a very intense mix of rage, grief, and panic when your abandonment trigger gets set off. And it's more intense maybe than non-traumatized people, and you kind of know it. Maybe if you get it, you know what I'm talking about, and you've kind of known for a long time that you take it harder than other people when somebody leaves you, or even when you fear they're going to leave you. Actually, you can get abandonment melange just from thinking that you want to leave. So that's what this is about. All right, so Jean says, I know the feeling is probably too intense for what the situation warrants, but I feel lost and confused because every time I feel I've established a solid connection or friendship with someone, it seems to blow up and evaporate the moment I express having any struggles, problems, or needs of my own. I've got my fairy pencil here. I'm going to circle things I want to come back to. I'm going to read through Jean's letter so we can just hear what the story is here, and then I'll go back and talk about things I circled. All right, I've been happily married, she says, for the past 15 years. Before meeting my husband, all my romantic relationships were either short-lived or, quote, casual. I'm guilty of having been the cool girl in my friendships, too, always having a tendency to put the needs of my friends before my own, then being punished or abandoned by these people when I dared to express any issues of my own. As a result, I tended not to suppress this side of myself and just basically crap-fitted, telling myself this was the price I had to pay to have friends and to be accepted in a social setting. Crap-fitting, that's a word that I made up for when we fit ourselves to crap. We get very good at it as kids to just, whatever, however unacceptably we're being treated or the situation's bad, we fit ourselves to it. You can lose a lot of years of your life crap fitting instead of having something that's happy for you. Okay, so Jean goes on. I grew up with parents who were emotionally immature and would often tell me that I was too much. Have you been told that? I really resonated with that, Jean. Instead of instilling discipline or setting boundaries appropriate to raising children, they would verbally lash out at me whenever I crossed the line. Fast forward to the present. Nearly a year ago, my husband developed a sudden, rapidly developing illness, and we decided to move cities to get better access to medical treatment. Shortly before this, I met a good-looking gay guy at my gym who seemed incredibly cool and funny, but also open to discussing his vulnerabilities. We hung out a couple of times and talked about a lot of things, and I felt like I had found that special connection. He expressed dismay that I was moving away. However, we kept in touch, mostly through messaging. The communication gradually dropped off as the months went on, but I just put this down to having separate and busy lives. Yesterday, this guy posted a meme on social media about dealing with personal struggles, and it resonated with me so much that I messaged him to tell him this. He replied that he's going through some heavy stuff at the moment and lamented the general lack of support from people around him. I told him I will be in town next week for work, and he replied that he would love to catch up with me, and then I did it. I sent 2 further messages briefly telling him about the struggles around my husband's illness, the treatment, and people's lack of understanding about the condition, kind of reflecting the sentiment that he had expressed. He stopped replying and left these messages unread. Following the advice of my late grandmother, I never write anything to anybody that I would not feel comfortable seeing printed in the newspaper. Hence, I'm confident I didn't write anything bad or crazy to this guy. Nonetheless, I feel embarrassed and downright crushed by the cessation of communication. Truthfully, I was so distraught yesterday I had to take medication. This kind of thing happens to me so much, and I cannot understand why. People who are all over me one moment ghost me in the moment I basically tell them my life is not perfect. I become highly triggered, especially when I express vulnerability to someone and it's not acknowledged. Recently, I opened up to my mother about overcoming my mental health struggles. She immediately responded by asking, had I heard from my sister? A further reaffirmation, says Jean, from my childhood, that I'm just not important enough to care about. Only after yesterday's episode did it hit me that this guy, who I had thought of as a friend, never once asked me about my husband's condition the whole time I've moved away, despite being aware of the situation. We chatted and messaged about other stuff, but it was always very lighthearted and harmless, like movies and music or his problems at work. Just realized he never asked me about my work either. I saw a therapist a couple years back who picked up on my hiding my own needs and problems so as not to appear off-putting to others. She made me realize that a healthy friendship entails a two-way exchange where both parties are allowed to have less than perfect lives. My question to you is, how do I go about cultivating healthy friendship dynamics where this kind of exchange is welcome and support is given as well as received? I'm scared that if anything happens to my husband, my life is going to be horrible if I keep attracting these types of friendship dynamics. Many thanks. All right, Jean, I think I can help you.